A child is an anchor cast into the uncharted harbor of the future. As much as we like to celebrate the idea of carpe diem, you only live once, live for the moment, shala, la 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 la, live for today. We don't actually live for today, we live for tomorrow. We work today for the benefits we hope to realize tomorrow. We strive today in order to make tomorrow a little bit easier, a little bit better. And the thing that gets us out of bed today is the gains that we hope to reap by tomorrow. A child is a 20-year or 40-year or 100-year commitment, depending on how you look at it. And for the parents of a child to take that gamble, take that risk, represents a huge investment in the portents of the future. I admire this no end. I admire this no end. We criticize parents all the time for the most absurd things, for things that no one can control and that you would certainly rebel against being criticized for if they happen to you. But we have so undermined parents and disincentivized parenthood, that we don't have children any longer. Fewer and fewer every year. And the people at the top of the ziggurat, at the top of the food chain, at the better end of the gene pool, these are the people least likely to have children. So I celebrate anyone who's willing to take that huge gamble on the future by having a baby. And today, I celebrate my niece, Maddie Branham, who last night gave birth to my brand new nephew, Sebastian Branham. You can see him in the picture. He's a big boy, full of muscle, full of determination, full of rebellion, I hope. I haven't met this little guy yet. I won't see him until this evening. Both Kathleen and I have rich, full days today, Sunday, the 26th of June, I believe, Sebastian's birthday. But I am immensely proud of Maddie and of Tim, her husband, for making this commitment, for making this unbelievably huge effort. I mean, they have been working for months to make all this happen. This is their first child. The second child will be somewhat easier because they will have done a lot of the prep work and they'll have stuff to hand down from one baby to the next. I've got my chip on 4 children for them. I don't know that they'll have 4, but I would love it if they did. I love children. I love big families. I love it when children have other children growing up around them so that they have other ways of bouncing off of alternative sensibilities other than their parents. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an only child or one of 2 children or whatever. I was one of 2 for a long time and then one of 3. But having 4, 5, 6, 7, it's too many. I can't put Maddie through it. I was reminiscing this morning about Madeleine. I met her when she was 9, almost 10, I think. And my very first memory of Maddie, we drove up in the car, Kathleen and I drove up in the car, and Maddie was in the front yard of the house that her mother was living in at that time, raking leaves. My first memory of Maddie is working. And Maddie has been a hardworking dog around us ever since. She spent a whole lot of time in our house when she was young. She led the work gangs of kids that we would put together to do those onerous, burdensome, ugly jobs that go along with home ownership, like cleaning up all the oranges or dealing with weeds or picking pine needles out of the bottom of the swimming pool was one of the jobs that we had the children do in those days. And Maddie was always the straw boss. And she grew into that in our real estate business. She led the gangs, the work crews of kids that we would take out. And Kathleen and I would keep an eye on the kids, and Madeleine would keep them working. She was the straw boss. And she was a straw boss for Kathleen years later, in Maddie's early 20s when she was in college at ASU. Maddie would lead gangs of college-age students for Kathleen doing real estate work for us. She and Tim are learning how to flip houses by doing work for us in our real estate practice now. Maddie is a hardworking dog, and she always has been. And I admire the way that she had this child also, because it was about 17 hours of labor as opposed to the 30 that first-time mothers typically go through. And it's just Maddie's way of doing things. Just get in there and get the job done. We saw her at the hospital last night, and she was completely phlegmatic, very well prepared emotionally, and dealing with the pain associated with labor in a way that I found very, very admirable, very phlegmatic and very composed. Kathleen was amazed because she's seen labor in the movies 1,000,001 times, and the women always seem so hysterical. That's an exaggeration, but Maddie was almost an exaggeration in the other direction. She was so well put together, so well prepared, and so emotionally stable. I'm proud of her no end. I am proud of her no end. I've loved this child since I met her, and I'm proud of what she's grown into, and I'm just beaming. I'm glowing, I think, from the inside out about the birth of Sebastian. This is where we have to go as a civilization. There is no civilization without fatherhood. There is no civility without fatherhood. And so we face enemies from Marxists, from Islamists, from neo-reactionaries, the so-called alt-right. We are assailed on three sides from people who insist that your only freedom consists of infinite submission to an authority outside your own mind. None of that means anything. None of that means anything at all, because all of civility emerges from self-responsible fatherhood, from self-responsible families, from families raising themselves, parents and children, to be better human beings. And Tim and Maddie, without knowing any of the crap that I talk about, Tim and Maddie have made that commitment to the future in the form of Sebastian, and I admire them no end. I salute them, and I celebrate their accomplishment, congratulate them, and I can't wait to meet this baby. I'm so glad we could talk today. This is more personal and less philosophical than we usually get at the Church of Splendor, but today is a red letter day. My nephew Sebastian was born. I'll talk to you next week.